Hey everyone, and welcome to Star Shipping, a series where I talk with queer Star Wars artists and writers and discuss their work, their ships, and of course, queerness in Star Wars. Today we are talking with Elena and discussing Kallus and Zeb from the animated Star Wars show Rebels. So, spoilers ahead. So before we get into everything, I wanted to talk a little bit about you and your art and also your experience with Star Wars. So how did your interest in Star Wars start, and how has that evolved alongside with your queerness as well?
So my mom actually introduced me to Star Wars when I was like really, really little, like 5, 6 years old. It's
Hmm.
I might be one of the first live action movie I ever saw in my life.
Oh, that's cool. That's like
So like
bragging
this
rights
is
too.
yeah, for me Star Wars is like it's been part of my life for a really long time. And with queerness, it's really funny. Like my first crush was Luke, which means like I'm like, yeah, I should have known I was gay. Like, yep, Luke with his little lesbian haircut and
Yep.
his Chanel boots.
Yep.
Yep.
And very like just beautiful femme energy pouring out of him. Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah.
And the Chanel
Like no
boots.
Han Solo there, just Luke. I was like, yeah.
Ex- That is amazing. Okay, that's great. So did you find that like as you grew up with Star Wars and as you grew into your queerness, did your view on Star Wars shift at all? Like did your experience of consuming Star Wars media shift at all?
Well, for a long time, I just stopped consuming Star Wars because I don't know why. I never got into the prequel, really,
Mm-hmm.
and I got back into it when the sequels came out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And by then, I was like, "Oh God, Finn and Poe, they're gonna get together," and I got bamboozled like everybody else because I at some point I was like, "Are they gonna do it? Are they gonna do it?" And like they didn't. And
Yeah.
then a few years ago, not a few years ago, well, kind of just before the pandemic started, Disney Plus was available, and I was like, "Oh, Rebels! I heard about it. I kind of want to watch it." And then I kind of devoured it in
It's so
two
good.
weeks,
Yep. Yep. It is
and I
such a
was
good
I was
show.
gone. It was too late for me. I was like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe they did this."
I devoured that so fast too. And what I love about it is how queer it feels. You know what I mean? It just
The
feels
found
queer.
family
Yes.
energy. I'm like,
Yes.
none of these characters are straight.
No. No,
None of
exactly.
them. It's like nobody has straight energy in this show. I love that.
I
I don't know
agree.
if Filoni does it on purpose, but Filoni just creates lesbians
He
like
does. Yeah.
Ahsoka and Sabine. I'm like, are you aware of what you're doing? Do you know what you're doing, please?
That is so funny. I agree. So when did your fan art come into the picture? Were you always drawing from a young age, Star Wars specifically stuff, or did that come later?
So I drew from a really young age, fan art a lot, not really Star Wars, just a bunch of everything. I
Hmm.
stopped drawing, weirdly enough, when I went to art school because I was doing other type
Yeah,
fan art.
yeah.
I did not have that time for fan art anymore.
Right.
And I kind of started after I started working, and it kind of went full swing after Rebels because I just had an iPad and I was like, oh, I can draw like I have my tablet now, and I just went full swing with the pandemic. I mean, what else did I have to do?
Absolutely.
I'm like, I'm just
Absolutely.
gonna draw. I have time now.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. So did your once you started getting into Star Wars fan art specifically, do you do you get more out of watching Star Wars media, especially the ones that you're drawing sort of fan art for, or does your experience viewing these like Rebels and other Star Wars projects, does it kind of stay the same, or do you think it's enhanced by you like creating art for it?
It's definitely like I rewatch a lot just to get like the settings, and even for writing, getting the character voices. I like
Yeah.
rewatching it a lot just to get kind of a refresh on that.
Yeah.
And especially for me, watching Rebels is a fun experience because I work in 3D. Like
Mhm.
I worked in 3D animation. I work in games now, so
Oh yeah.
often for me it's really hard to watch 3D animated shows because I can see like I
That would
can
be
see
weird.
through the matrix a little
Yeah.
bit. But
Yeah.
Rebels is a different experience because I'm so into the plot and the characters. I can ignore everything else.
That's
It's pretty amazing.
It is amazing, and I mean that's a testament to the show. I mean that show is so great. I mean there's just every like little fiber of that show I think just has such a deep nuance to it. So it really is a very immersive show to watch. I also wanted to ask too, my favorite thing about fan art in general is like I mean, really, like you can create any reality you want with your like with your favorite characters. You can create that reality. And for me, like even just like I can go for hours and hours and hours and hours consuming fan art, and every single piece I look at, it can hit such emotional chords just from like very simple, if it's just one drawing or if it's a storyboard or sort of like a strip. What I love about it is how imaginative it is and how provocative it is on an emotional level as well. So what's your favorite aspect of creating fan art for Star Wars? And then do you have a favorite aspect of consuming it? Because I assume you also look at a lot of fan art, so are those different, and how do they differ if they do?
I mean, for creating it, it's just I love having a little story and then kind of for me, it's kind of a superpower. It's like who gave me this power of like I can draw this. I thought about this. I'm like I can make this real.
Yeah.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
cannot be stopped. It's kind of yeah. It's just really funny to have this little story and be I could just draw that and
Yeah.
share it. And then
Yeah.
seeing other people draw that is sometimes just technically I'm just impressed by how talented people are. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
god, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And sometimes also since Rebels is kind of stylized, I like seeing how other people interpret the characters in their
Hmm.
own style because that's really different. And seeing kind of like yeah, basically how everybody draws these characters differently.
I
It's really
agree.
really fun.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So now we can get into Kallus and Zeb,
Yes.
everyone's favorites. And like just right up top, of course, like there we want to leave room for men, regardless of sexuality, to be able to like have intimacy and intimate moments without it being gay. But that being said, to so many people, they are like undoubtedly, undeniably, unapologetically gay, myself included. So I just love picturing about their little gay life together. So with all their highs and lows, Elena, I wanted to ask you what your favorite moment we've seen between Zeb and Kallus in Rebels is and why.
I kind of have many. I really like
Yeah.
the epilogue just because the introducing your boyfriends to your family vibe is just off the chart.
Yeah.
It kills me every time I see it. I'm like, they
Yep.
really did that. But also, one of the smaller one is at the end of the honorable ones
Hmm.
when Zeb kind of leaves
Hmm.
and at some point like he does a little like goodbye thing and Callus kind of goes behind the cliff. And for me, I can pinpoint the moment when he falls in love. I'm
Yes.
like, that's
Yes.
that moment. That's when
Yes.
Callus falls in love. I'm like, oh my god,
Absolutely. That part
what a
makes me melt.
disaster.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like now we're in trouble. I also agree like that the meet the parents vibe going off the charts. I remember I was watching it and like I was toying with the idea of shipping them, I think throughout the whole series. But once I saw that moment, my jaw dropped and I was like, they're getting married. I was like, they're
Yeah,
living the rest of their lives. Like, this is a big moment. I was like, I was literally like watching it alone. I'm like looking around. I'm like, do you understand what's happening? Like, they're getting married, like
it's
fully.
insane. It's. I think everybody was. I like. I would have loved to seen people reaction when that aired like live because people mess because I know the ship was really controversial because
Hmm.
enemies to lovers ships often are.
Right, right,
But when
right.
people saw the ending, like you cannot deny that this is canon.
I I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And also, what's interesting about their shipping, Callus and Zeb in particular, is I feel like a lot of people involved with Rebels have spoken on their shipping. Like Dave Filoni, he's addressed it, and what's really nice about Filoni is he's voiced support, and appreciation for any interpretation of them together. And he highlights whether it's romantic or not, like their love is deeply rooted in forget their forgiveness and their acceptance of each other, which I think is like on the nose. Of course, it's on the nose. Filoni said it, but to me, that's I think the most endearing part of their relationship. So, what do you think is so compelling about the prospect of Zeb and Callus being together and being romantic partners?
Well, I'm a sucker for enemies to
Yeah.
lovers chips in general. Like just it's a lot. And I love that it's a slow burn. It
Hmm.
goes on from the for the entire show, and also it's not like it's so there's this thing like enemies to lovers and Beauty and the Beast, and you're gonna have like oh the non-human one is gonna be
Right.
the evil monster, and then
Right.
they're gonna get redeemed, and they completely flip that on its head,
Yeah.
and the I'm not gonna say Calspray because I don't. He's an acquired taste, but like the human one is actually the evil one, and
Yeah.
he gets redemption, and I love that. Just that little flip is amazing to me
That's such a good point. I had never really thought of it as like Beauty and the Beast because of that inversion, but
because
that it's
it's
so
that
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
goes
that's
so
so great.
well. Yeah, it's really compelling. Like I feel like Callus has a really compelling redemption arc
Mm-hmm.
that works for me. Like they couldn't go as far as I would have liked it to go, but just because that's a kids show, and at some point, like
Right.
maybe some subjects are better for a show more for adults.
Yeah.
Hire me to do the Callus comic when we get more into that.
Absolutely.
But
Yep. Yep.
yeah, no, for me it's really compelling. And also there's kind of this funny thing when you can tell that it wasn't planned at all and it kind of just organically came about, I think, from people working behind the scenes.
Yep.
Because Callus is his characterization changes a lot from season one, season four, and I think it's season four. Like the last episode, he goes, "Oh, something like when I quit the Empire is when I stopped lying to myself." I'm like that. Like there's a line that's really similar to this, and I was like, "Do you sound like a closeted gay man
Yep.
who escaped his conservative family?"
Yep. Yep.
Like that is so compelling.
Yeah, no, they're the coming to terms like of all of that, and like his embrace of himself again adds to that queer energy, I think.
Yeah, for me it was like, especially that line, I was like, that has to be on purpose. Like
Yeah.
they know what they're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah,
Somebody behind the scene was like, hey, what if we did that? And since they're secondary character, it probably went over okay.
yep. That's a good point. That's a good point. There's like some queer people on the Rebels team that were working on that and kind of were like, well, we'll just put that in there right there.
Yeah, just people know, people will know.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
will
exactly.
recognize this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think another thing, like, when we talk about why so many Star Wars fans ship the two of them, I also think just their dynamic on a personality level, I think is so compelling. Like they're so quick and their quips at each other, and like just there's such a I think there's just such a push and a pull in their relationship. That's what's fun is it's been there since day one, but it takes on a different context as, of course, like, Callus goes through his stuff and everything. So I also think just like the way they speak together, I think, is so romantic and it's so playful. Their playfulness, I think, is something that I think a lot of people like to see in relationships.
They definitely have chemistry and
Yeah.
just great banter, which is just great to see. I'm just sad that they didn't get more interaction in season four.
Yes.
Because, like, I almost feel like they couldn't because they would have to address the whole,
Yeah. Yes.
And also, season four has been cut short, so we're missing, I think, some filler episode that could have been that.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, even in the end, like I think it's at some point when Zeb goes into the shield reactor and Kallus goes, "Zeb, no!" And I was like, "Oh my god,
I know. I
they
know. I
really
know there's
love
like
each
those
other."
moments. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Like every Zeb really, they don't have a lot of moments together, but the moments they have are just the chemistry of the chart.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Like the you can just in my opinion, I think you can really tell that the writers on Rebels gave those two like tender love and care. You know what I mean? They were really held by the writing, I think, in a way that like, you know, other side characters didn't necessarily get. You can tell that there was a lot of intention in the way that they had those moments that you're talking about. They might be few and far between sometimes, but when they're there, they're powerful.
Oh, for sure.
And then when it comes to your art, one of my favorite Instagrams that you've shared is the one of Kallus and Zeb proposing after the Battle of Endor. So I thought I'd ask where you find your inspiration for your drawings and your illustrations, because like you said, it's so funny. I always think to myself, especially when I'm going on fan art deep dives, like what you said, like that the magical powers or the superhero powers, where it's like, if I think of anything, I can make that canon, at least head canon, you know what I mean? And I can draw that into a reality, which I'm so jealous of people that have your kind of talent. It's such an incredible thing to have. So where do you find inspiration for the different, scenarios and interpretations of them together?
Well, I'm a horrible romantic, so like it's funny. People like it's funny as a lesbian being so into a couple that's two gay men, but for me,
Yeah.
just kind of projecting, like it's more of a like solidarity. I'm like, oh god, I would love to have that, and I'm a horrible romantic. And for this one after Andor, it's more of a like I make up this whole headcanon that I have for them that changes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it doesn't. And for me, for this like proposal thing, especially, is I thought that being so afraid that they could die during the rebellion, they would probably not like commit that much. And like
Yeah.
the moment they know that it's over, it's like, holy shit,
Yeah.
like let's go.
Yeah.
Because they've probably been together like I think between the end of Rebels and Endor, it's about 5 years. So they've been together about 5 years, and they're ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's such a good point too about like, I feel like there's such a release in that. Like there's such a romantic release in that illustration, especially when it's like paralleled with the war. You know what I mean? It's like fighting, 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 being a part of the Rebel Alliance, fighting, 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 and then like the Battle of Endor happens, and it's like there's a release, and there's so much more room for like love and light, and so that's a big that you can feel. What I love about that drawing is you can feel all that delicious like celebratory energy in it. Yeah,
And
it's
also for
great.
me, it's really funny is that if you look at the canon, well, canon adjacent couples in Star Wars,
Yeah.
they're one of the only couples so far to have like a full happy ending.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
No, I know, and that's why I'm like so hungry for more. Like whether it's an additional season of Rebels or whatever it is, like I just
I'm
want
afraid
to
of
see
an
more of them.
additional season because I don't want them to kill them off. I'm like, no, like, let them like I don't know adopt a child and be like
Yeah.
have the little happy family. Just
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
done.
No, I
I
also love
really
the idea of a comic series. I think that would be so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, and also in comics they have way more representation. Like
Yep.
Afra
Yep.
is I have all the Afra comics.
Yes.
I love her so much. She's just one of the best characters.
She
And I'm
really
like,
is.
since they have that representation and that ability to do that in the comics, that's where we would have the possibility of seeing it become canon.
Another thing I wanted to ask you is if you have any favorite illustrations that you've done. I know that's like kind of a tricky question because like you probably have a couple favorites, or if there's like a favorite, scenario that you find Kallus and Zeb in the illustrations. Anything that stands out to you in your own work.
I love drawing first kisses. Like I
Yeah.
think I've drawn like I don't know 10 versions, different
Yep.
versions of a first kiss because I'm like, oh my god,
Yep.
yes, there's so many possibilities. And also that's the thing about not seeing what happened in canon is like everything is possible and you can just make up a lot of different scenarios all in that canon universe
Yeah.
because we don't really know what happened.
That's a good point too, and that's also like kind of like not wanting another season of Rebels. That's another reason why. You know what I mean? There's a lot of fun in having more room to play in the sandbox. With less canon established events happening and things happening, all
And
that
then
kind
you
of
have to
stuff.
do AUs and you're like, oh. Yeah, also
Yeah.
I love making AUs. I make I make one a week. I cannot stop.
Yeah, no, they're so great. They're so great. Another thing I wanted to mention, I just wanted to read for everyone too, is an interview between Flickering Myth and Steve Bloom, who voices Zeb, and he talks a little bit about the two characters and their possible off-screen romance. And he says, "From the very first time Zeb and Kallus appeared together, I joked that someday they'd become a couple and end up on Lyrasan together. I had no idea that it would actually happen. It was the greatest gift anyone had ever given me in terms of a character's evolution. I've been thanking Dave Filoni ever since. The shippers went out of their minds, and I wholeheartedly encourage that. Could be just buddies/brothers, but I love the idea that they could be more." And this is just like another awesome experience, another awesome moment of people on the Rebels team being supportive of that, because in other fandoms and even other Star Wars projects, if people are shipping characters, especially queer characters, I think it can get shut down a lot quicker than other shippings. So it's nice to have that kind of support from people. I mean, the voice of Zeb himself. So speaking of shippers, I wanted to ask if you have any other characters that you ship from the Star Wars universe.
So many.
Yeah, a lot, a lot.
A
Me too.
lot. No, I mean, well, in sequels, Finpo is really dear to my heart,
Yeah,
and maybe they could be canon.
yeah,
I also love D&D, so I'm really sad that Kanan died. It breaks my heart, but I
I
would also want Hera to find love again. And there's a
yeah.
character in the comic called Sana, who is part of the rebellion. She does
Hmm.
interact with Hera at some point,
Hmm.
and I would love it's a crack ship completely, but it's really hard for like Fem/2 to happen because
Yeah,
not that many female characters and they don't interact that much. But I would love that to be end game because I want
yeah,
Hera to find love again, and I would
absolutely.
love for it to be a woman.
Yeah, I
So
agree. I agree.
she's bisexual, okay?
Oh,
Was bisexual.
yeah. It's not, there's no question. She really is.
Nobody
Oh,
on the Ghost crew is straight, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, I know. That whole ship is just like queer, just queer, queer, queer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I also saw a really wonderful, wonderful illustration of Din Djarin and Cobb Vanth, also that you made.
Yes. I mean, when I saw that episode, I was like, oh my god, it's a single that meet cute.
Yeah, yeah, it really is.
I'm not that invested just because I know the character's not gonna come back.
Right.
But it was just really fun to see, and it's like, oh, that's like they had really good chemistry during the
They had
episode.
great chemistry, and that was
Also,
so
it made a
fun.
lot of people really mad that I drew that on Twitter. People
Oh,
were
really?
so mad.
So
I
yeah,
don't know why.
well, I think, well, homophobia, but
Yeah, but like especially like this ship and Kalluzeb to an extent really
yeah.
makes people mad.
Well, I think people have a weird sort of. It's so funny because Mandalorian specifically to me is very soft and queer. As like badass as it is, it's very soft and queer
I
and
mean,
like
the thing is like finding a child and then he removes his helmet and he's just crying. He's just a soft, soft man.
absolutely. And I think people have issue with it's. I mean, it's I think unfounded, but they have issue with with Din being queer. And also Cobb Vanth, I think people had a real like attachment to him if people knew Cobb from before Mandalorian live action and all that. So, but I love that illustration of them together.
They're
And
so
also
cute.
another thing too that I've noticed about the fan art community is that it really is a community, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful space to be in. I don't create my own fan art. Unfortunately, I don't have those incredible skill sets. But just like following the fan art accounts that I do is I notice that so many of fan artists like follow each other and really support each other and share each other's work. And do you have anything that you want to talk about with regards to like your experience in like that subsect of the fandom? Because I find it to be such a beautiful space.
I mean, yeah, for sure, fan art is really, and with artists, you kind of want to interact with other artists because they will kind of get where you're coming from more
Hmm.
easily. And I mean, for me, like I have a soft spot for like every Kalluzeb fan artist because that's how I met my current partner through Kalluzeb fan
Oh,
art.
what?
So because they're also an artist, so I was like, oh, I love your fan art, and then
That's amazing. That's
so for
amazing.
me, it's I have a soft spot. I met really like a bunch of really great people through fan
Hmm.
art and fan fiction that like are helping me through this pandemic
Yeah,
because we don't see anybody,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it's just it's a great community so far. And in general, I feel people are pretty open to new people coming in. Like I haven't
Hmm.
seen that much jealousy. Maybe because I draw such a small ship that like what
Yeah.
five other people draw them. I
Yeah.
don't. There's no competition here.
Yeah.
Maybe for bigger ships, maybe, but I'm sure Rebels fans, I would say, are pretty chill.
I agree. I agree. There's like such that's what I love about like the Rebels community is it's such a vibe. I mean, it's a vibe. Like you just hang out, it's there's like a lot of chill, warm energy there. Okay, I also have to hear more about you and your partner. That is such a cute story. Did you just find their work through the Kalluzeb tag or something on Instagram?
On Twitter, they did a Rebels fan art, and I was like, oh, this is so cute. And I kind of joked, I was like, oh, maybe they're gonna do a Kalluzeb because when I never see a new Rebels fan art, I'm like, oh, are they gonna do a Kalluzeb?
Yeah, yeah,
That's always my question, and
yeah.
they did. And then I commissioned them to do a small comic, and then we just kept talking.
Oh,
It
that's so
was
cute.
no, it was a fandom meet cute.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that is so adorable. Oh, that's such a good story. Oh, it's like I think we need some sort of like mashup. I don't know what it would look like, but some sort of mashup with like Kallus and Zeb and you and your partner. I don't know what that looks like,
We've
but
actually talked about. I'm definitely more of a callous.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good question.
I am,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I am definitely more, and I think like a lot of people will project on callous just because of like that. It's nice to see somebody come from like manage to come back from that far gone, and
Yeah.
like he still gets to be happy,
Yeah.
and also he's really emotionally constipated. I'm like, oh, dude, poor
It's
man, I
almost too
feel you.
relatable. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, but god damn it,
Yeah.
use your words.
That
Even
is so
when I
funny.
read him in fics, I'm just like, oh god, like
Yeah.
please do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree. All right, great. So just to sort of send us off is if you have any advice on that you would give to other Star Wars fans that would like to get into fan art or illustrating. I know like for me, for example, is I do draw and paint a lot, but digital illustration is something that I want to get into so bad. So what advice would you give to Star Wars fans wanting to get into the art side, fan art side of things?
Well, first of all, you don't have to draw digital to draw fan art.
Right,
A lot
right,
of people
right,
like will just scan.
right.
But I mean, there's a lot of really of free softwares that you can find. Like
Mm.
I've used Krita, and that is free. And then there's a side paint tool they use for years and years is only $20.
Oh, amazing.
So
Okay.
that's really affordable. I
Yeah.
mean, I have an iPad, so I have Procreate, which is $14. It's insanely cheap, and I will
Yeah.
never use anything else.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to have an iPad, which is
Right.
it's a financial investment.
Yeah,
But in general,
absolutely.
just people don't be afraid of drawing stuff that is like not, I'm not gonna say bad, but like you think you could draw better, but just have fun because people will actually see when you had fun drawing something and it's really gonna come through. I feel like you can tell when an artist just had a blast drawing something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome advice. Thank you. I'm going to be taking that advice. It's like just having
No,
fun with
like
it. It comes through.
yeah, it's even if the anatomy isn't perfect and the
Hmm.
colors could be better, it doesn't matter because people will just be like, "Oh my god, I can feel that."
That's awesome. And would you say that fan art is something that all Star Wars fans should try out? Like, do you think that it enhances your experience of Star Wars?
I mean, if you wanna try drawing, for
Right.
sure, like, and I think it's something we do as kids. Like when you're a kid, you're gonna like draw yourself as a Jedi or
Yeah.
as a star pilot, and then you kind of lose it because you're like, oh, but it's not like the quality, but it's just something fun
Yeah.
to
I
do. But I
agree.
mean, art can be many things. Fan art can be also fan fiction if you want to
Hmm.
write. People do podcasts, people do music, cosplays. It's just a wide range to like kind of express your passion for Star Wars.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. That's so great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you wanted to sort of hit on or talk about before we sign off?
Yeah, no, not really, but it makes me happy to see Rebels kind of having being back in the spotlight with Disney Plus,
Yeah.
and hopefully, and even seeing more shippers because the ship was really controversial, like really controversial when the show
Yeah.
aired, and
Yeah.
now it's kind of come down, and people can just enjoy the ship, and that's pretty nice.
That is nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so, so much. I really, really appreciate you talking tonight.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Thank you all so much for joining us on our first episode of Starshipping with Kalluzeb. And thank you so, so much to Elena for an amazing interview and for all your amazing work in the fandom. Everyone, go give her a follow. I'll drop her Instagram profile below so you can see her work and follow her along on her fan art journeys. And in the meantime, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I put new queer Star Wars content out every single week. Thank you all so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always.